Hey everybody, welcome to this edition of eChannel News. Today we're going to be talking to the winner of the July's Lion's Den. As you know what that is, you get 3 minutes to make your case, and she did it spectacularly. So we're going to be talking to Anne-Marie Moore. She's from Media Sonar Technologies, and we've invited her back to go a little bit deeper so we can understand more about what Media Sonar does. So Anne-Marie, welcome first of all, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So it wasn't it wasn't that scary. You stepped up and you did it. You told a very nice story, and we all bought into it. But so here's my first question: for those who don't know Media Sonar, what exactly is the problem that your company solves?
So the problem we're solving, and I touched on it during my Lion's Den pitch. So I'm going to start out with kind of the two things right away. Just really making sure everybody resonates with the fact that the internet's a threat vector. Can't be ignored. It's kind of the new expanded enterprise network. The second piece, though, is that related to that, being able to identify, mitigate risk and threat info from the internet really does come with its challenges. And I spoke to this in my pitch. It's about the risk of engaging with that kind of data. We know in the industry that not a lot of people have a lot of training. No matter what, the internet's like an unstructured data set. So it's not your typical binary kind of stuff. And it's fast. And then third with that, it's about the cost. So the problem that we're solving is we're trying to help security practitioners out there who recognize we got to wrap our arms around this stuff and help them maximize what I describe as like the time to value formula. So I know that all of this is out there. I've got to get value and I only have so much time to do it. So we're trying to address that formula so that they can identify web threat indicators and incidents, be able to enhance their context, assess the relevance of it within their threat management practice, and basically allow kind of the gems of the internet from a threat perspective to be just arranged in a coherent fashion. So we're really trying to address time to value of taking something big, complex, and fast, but knowing that there's something meaningful in there and getting the meaning out of it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, obviously, most channel partners out there, cybersecurity is at the top of their list because it's at the top of the list of all the board of directors and CEOs of the companies, right? And they've got to nail this thing. And I think you kind of allows them to kind of better understand how the threats are coming in and maybe to implement a plan to sort of mediate that. So it's a really cool layer that they should certainly consider. My question though was interesting. How did this company got started? I mean, what was the catalyst to get Media Sonar to where it is today?
So we've been around for a couple of years, and I'm going to go back. This is going to sound corny, but I will go back to our mission statement because this is really where this company came about. We started working with social media data in the public safety space, right? And our mission from a company perspective is to be, the goal was to apply our craft to transform what we're describing as the world's information, AKA the internet, into insights that make a positive difference. So just taking that information, making a positive difference. We started in social media in the public safety space. And then as we've evolved as a company, we brought in, and that's driven both our company and our technology direction. So then started with social media, moved to broader data sets. We got into deep and dark web, things like forums, all that type of information, but then applying it to use cases, and again, guided by positive difference, and found a very natural fit then next in our evolution with corporate security, and them using that as a part of that digital kind of adjacency with what they're doing in a physical security landscape. Fast forward now to today, it's also very, very applicable in the InfoSec or the cybersecurity world, and the fact that we all, I can't emphasize enough, digital threat starts out in the internet, no matter what, because we are all digital people. And so the application of, again, using our craft to help harness that internet information so that it serves a purpose, addresses the use case, and more importantly, the kind of the threat management process in the cybersecurity world. And that's how we got to where we are today.
Interesting. I mean, almost everything is starting now with social engineering, right? So
Yes.
they're learning about you and what you do in your company, and they're pretending, mimicking something to infiltrate, right? The new spying, right?
Yep.
And then they get into your systems and so on. So it's a really great angle that you're coming from the social world and media and so on. That's sort of making them understand how that affects cybersecurity. When can you give us though an example? Like, give us one example of how your technology was implemented, how it saved the day, anything.
Sure. Um, so save the day is a really big, big order of business.
We're dramatic here.
Okay. Um, but I will give you a really, I think, decent example that resonates. So I think one of the things that's really a big challenge in the enterprise security space is where the vulnerabilities are beyond the enterprise network. So we've all heard the SolarWinds stuff, the KCO stuff. And we actually had a scenario where I'll just give you like the real simplistic scenario where we actually had our customer had a query on, they're just looking for their brand, their name, so they have kind of their asset, and they're just running a background, predefined query of anytime it is mentioned or named in anything that's not open web. So it would be really only going into the deep and dark web. Lo and behold, words started or posts started coming up, things like staging servers, and all of a sudden username and first name, last name type of information out there. And basically from an analyst perspective, within our product, then there was a honing in. Okay, so why is that kind of popping up? And so finding more username, first name, last name, and then honing the queries even further. Basically, at the end of the day, getting down to the fact that there were signing keys, device IDs associated, and tying it back, being able to tie it back to just a very, I don't want to say ad hoc, but basically this information was kept in a staging server environment that didn't have the same network protection that existed with their core applications. So there was no negative repercussions for the company, but the ability to have basically found that, say, oh, we got to do something about that, and then move on.
It's a common mistake, actually. It's not as uncommon as you would think, right? I mean, and another thing too, I think a lot of in the social engineering world is that hackers are kind of leveraging legitimate companies, right, to infiltrate other companies, like in the supply chain and so on. So you really got to be, you got to know what's happening with your brand out there, obviously, right? And so someone's using it, that could actually have crazy implications, right?
Yeah.
For your company, and that people think that the spam is actually, or the attack is coming from you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And can't underestimate the fact that it's a pretty vast sphere of information to even try and wrap your arms around. So it's not always a save the day moment, but and I think I chatted about it in the lines that I think one of the key things in terms of using this type of information with a software like ours efficiently is it's really just making sure you're doing everything you can to improve your security posture too as well. It's really trying to minimize the what if scenarios.
Every bit helps. I
Yeah.
think it's just piling on enough layers that make sense, that work together. And the more layers you have that is integrated and works well together, I think beefs up your security posture. When you look at, the spinning the solution up,
Mhm.
if you talk to an MSP or an MSSP, what's your message to them about how it is to spin this up for your customers?
It's pretty simple. So we are SaaS based. So basically, a cloud application. We operate on GCP. So in the simplest version of it, if you've got access to the internet, we can set you up, right, from a user perspective. But we follow, from a security perspective, we follow Auth0 practices for client authorization, et cetera. Everything is, we work in obviously a GCP leveraged data encrypted environment. We also do have a Firehose API. But from a spinning it up from an MSP perspective, we have dedicated client success managers, technical account support managers that literally provide implementation support to clients through their onboarding. But it is a fairly simple setup. Most of the setup investment from an MSP perspective is literally the kind of the core knowledge that they bring of their clients related to what they need to address from an overall kind of a brand protection and threat management perspective, because then they build in and then they can customize what they want from a query and a monitoring perspective in the product.
So they could be getting results or, feedback within days, right? Not months and years, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. What if you talk to the MSPs out there, right? And
Mhm.
you have the voice to talk to them now and tell them, what do you want them to know about your company?
So us as a company, there's three things I think three things I probably would put out there. Firstly, one of the things that has been a really strong message, and we've consistently gone with every customer and partner we worked with, we do build strong relationship and collaborative relationships with who we work with. Again, when you are a little bit smaller and on the growth trajectory, that's a huge value add for us, and it's very much shaped our product direction and our business model. So I want MSPs to know that we have taken a lot of pride in our ability to be a very good vendor to work and collaborate with. I think the second piece is I do really, I feel very passionate about the fact that when we look at anything that we're doing from our tech development perspective and our company, it's about that time to value. We try to use that as a bit of a governing principle. Whatever we're doing in terms of what we're delivering, we're trying to deliver time to value to our end user. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to provide a relevant, we want to make sure our security solution is relevant and it's profitable as a business opportunity for us and our partners. The third piece I think I'd like to leave with them is, and it's kind of ties into the other two, is we're very committed and very interested in developing an effective market model that supports our partners' business objectives. I would be remiss if I didn't say we're newer to the channel space, so we're from that perspective, that's an important part for me personally. Eyes wide open and really, really trying to make sure what we're doing is truly an effective model.
Well, learning fast and doing it right is the key. So kudos to you guys for stepping up there. When talking about the money aspect, I know everything is a little bit different from all kinds of different angles with pricing. And but if you look at the revenue potential, it's a SaaS tool. So how are you charging for this to the MSP or to the end customer? You decide.
So from an end customer perspective, we actually have a tiered package offering, right? And it really depends on the different services that they want. From an MSP perspective, and I'll go back to that whole really collaborating with partners related to how we deliver and service them. Most MSPs obviously are they're looking for a multi-tenant kind of model opportunity, and we are pricing our product for them for that. So as you bring on tenants, that is your trigger related to more your cost to us. I think the thing that is very important is the way our product is built. It is super scalable, so that implementation of tenancies is fairly straightforward. So the revenue opportunity for MSPs is that they can add us into their managed service delivery mechanism for their customers, building it into their existing stack, and then billing it as part of their existing kind of service package to their customers. Other service providers that we work with have actually literally offered our product as a standalone engagement, so more like a PS type of engagement to their clients, more tied to specific risks or projects or initiatives related to their clients. If I go beyond MSPs, if you don't mind, just even on the VAR side, who might work a little bit more, I think, in a transactional model as far as how they would work with us, it's a great solution for them to sell to their what I would call self-sufficient clients who have skilled security threat teams, have a gap where they need to kind of enhance their own web threat detection investigation capabilities. So fundamentally, if you're like an end user, we have the tiered packages. When you get into the MSP space, we are pricing it based on more of their tenancy approach. But again, your first customer or their first tenant is kind of their first most significant investment. It's the most their most costly one, because the product is pretty scalable then in terms of propagating, replicating, and delivering across other clients.
Well, Anne-Marie, sounds like you got all bases covered. Really good stuff. I mean, without a doubt, the MSP community need to figure out how to, leverage and do better security. There are some things that they do need to outsource. Maybe monitoring 24/7, that type of thing is maybe out of their wheelhouse, but there are components of it that they can manage in-house. And I would recommend to MSPs, don't outsource 100% of the security practice and give up your customer that way, but figure out what you can handle in-house and then outsource the stuff that's a little bit harder. So definitely, I could see your layer or your security platform, helping them to be to be part of that model. The last question is, what's the best way for them to learn more about Media Sonar?
Check the internet. No,
Google.
because we are. No, so joking aside, obviously, website is mediasonar.com. We do have a partner section there so they can learn a little bit more. It's very easy to, and there's obviously those contact us. So you can get somebody to give you a call directly. We are on Twitter. We're on LinkedIn. I also am happy to entertain any partner who would like to just engage with me directly. Again, my name's Anne-Marie Moore. The email is pretty much this, that AnneMarieM@mediasonar.com, and reach out and I'll be happy to share any more information that they'd like to learn.
It's a plan. Well, Anne-Marie, congratulations again. And awesome. Looks like a really interesting opportunity for MSP. So all the best.